Hello and welcome to the Line Break podcast. This week we're doing a Pro 12 special, looking at an overview of the league so far and looking forward to Europe this week with the double headers. I'm joined by Declan / Hubble Stuff today. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey guys, how you doing?
And I'm joined by CC.
Hello.
Right, let's get right into it then. Let's go with the Irish teams to start with. We'll go from the bottom up, I guess, the top down even. We'll go with Connacht.
I was about to ask what your definition of bottom up was. I was afraid you're going to start with Leinster or Ulster.
So from the top, Connacht, they've been going great this season. They've kind of previously been known as the fourth region and just the whipping boys. Yeah, exactly. And they're kind of a breath of fresh air seeing them up at the top. What are your guys' views on them as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, fantastic season so far. Even though there's quite a lot of chit chat about where's Robbie Henshaw going. It's funnily enough, he's been away for the World Cup. He's now injured again, and they seem to be doing fantastic without him. Very good style of play, very open play. Pat Lam, you can see he's been putting, I think, about 3 years' work into the team, and it's finally starting to pay off. He's had some key, very fantastic signings. He's a very astute individual when it comes to picking players to complement the academy and homegrown players in Connacht. So you can finally see the fruit of his labour. Now, I suppose the concern for everybody who knows Connacht is then after Christmas they start to kind of peter out, and that's kind of what happened last season as well. But I suppose just lost their second match of the season to the Blues, unfortunately, so we're going to have Adam here laughing away. So I don't know, I mean, I saw the first half of that, and then the Irish channel TG4 cut out on me, so yeah, you're going to have to tell me how that match ended, because when I left off, Connacht were winning.
Yeah, I mean, the second half was not too different from the first half, but the Blues definitely started to get more of a hold on it, which I think is weird for both teams. But for Connacht to sort of lose their grip on a game, especially with the former and for the Blues to actually get a grip on the game, so that was a bit unusual. But apart from that, Connacht didn't play badly, even though they lost. There was a lot of handling mistakes. That was probably what killed them.
Yeah.
But I mean, guys like Bundy Aki were fantastic in that match.
Oh yeah.
He was brilliant. Is it Matt Healy, the winger? He came on after the starting scrum half, and then Marmion went off at half time as well, so he had to cover at scrum half and did a really good job.
Yeah.
But that didn't help them either.
No, because you're really going down the pecking order then in terms of scrum halves and such a critical position.
Yeah,
will take its toll.
And it was a close match even to the end. I mean, the only reason Connacht didn't end up winning it was a knock on right on the try line about 76 minutes in. It was a close match, and it was definitely could have won it.
Yeah, in the first half, sure, they left 4 points on the scoreboard, or off the scoreboard even, by missing 2 conversions, and it was only 4 points that was in it for a draw. So that's kind of frustrating when you see those kicks missed. The first try that they let in was fairly easy. Nothing against the skill set of the Blues, because I mean, most amount of points scored. I think is it still the most amount of points scored, or
Connacht have got the most points scored, and then Cardiff are just behind them. So pretty close run anyway.
Yeah. So I mean, it was a pretty easy score to let in, though, the first one. I mean, you're looking at. You can nitpick everything and just find out where they left scores or left points on the board, or just let points in. But I mean, for the part of the match that I saw, I was quite impressed. I was quite happy with it. Kind of very, very, very frustrated with with just how it cut out on me, and I wasn't able to watch the last 35-40 minutes. So, but apart from that, it was good.
Something else we were talking about was just the amount of change that Pat Lam's had.
Yeah.
Since he's been in there, he's completely changed the whole philosophy and their approach to rugby. like I was reading in a 42IE article that he does 10 minutes of skills training after they've done weights, and injured players work on the skill areas that they're able to while they're injured, or they're physically able to do. If they're not, if they've got a broken leg, then they still do like stationary pouncing and done handstand sprints. They do video analysis and decision making as well. So he looks like he's had a really positive influence since he's been there. Because I know when he was at Auckland Blues, he wasn't too favourably looked upon there, I think. But looking back now, the Blues look a bit of a mess anyway. That's going off on a different tangent.
I mean,
so
it's,
yeah,
like you can see from everybody on the sub, all the Irish subscribers on the Rugby Union sub, most of us would willingly admit he's easily the best coach in the provincial setup at the moment. We'd all be quite jealous of Connacht having Pat Lam. You know, not to say anything bad about any of the other coaches. Les Kiss is literally just in the job. Leo Cullen seems to be doing okay, but you know, we need to give him the breathing space before we know what the hell is going on with him. Some games are going well, some games are not. You're talking about working on skills. Sometimes we wonder if Leinster has been doing that at all this season, let alone the last two. Munster then, of course, as well. Like, we're, you know, not the same team that they used to be, and you're just looking, is it the coaches, is it what has changed, you know?
Well, let's get to Munster then.
Yeah.
They're sitting third in the table, just behind Connacht. They've won both their games in Europe at the moment. Like, if you don't look at the games at all, I mean, it's a pretty good reading so far. Is it really that bad, or is it?
The past 2 weeks for them haven't been great. I mean, they lost to Connacht at home, and then the week after went to the Dragons and managed to lose there somehow. So I'm not really sure what's going on at the moment with Munster. What could
I mean,
deck perhaps?
It's a bit strange. So I mean, like, you know, before I end up antagonising any Munster fans, so I know I'm not the most knowledgeable about it, but from my perspective, I mean, I'm really curious about what the hell is Axel Foley doing. I mean, Jesus, it doesn't seem like Munster's playing at all like they used to, and then they're just all over the place. It's difficult to know if they're going to win or lose or draw or what's going to happen. I mean, at least with Leinster, apart from one big surprise upset, you know, I mean, we know how we're going to play roughly.
Yeah.
We know roughly what to expect. I mean, when we're going to go up against the Dragons, I still don't think we're going to lose, even though we lost the double last year. Just let's not mention that again. Just with Munster, they just don't. It feels as if there's a lack of consistency.
Yeah. Something as well is having players going abroad. I think there's potential Zebo going off from them as well.
I don't think he's going to. I don't think so.
so.
No. I think, you know, he's looking for his central contract. He's probably going to get one. I mean, look, he's one of the few players in Munster that is actually creative and he has that spark in him. And I just feel Munster's missing that. And it's not, you know, they're obviously, look, they're missing key players. So, you know, I mean, you can't really say without Conor Murray they're going to be better. So there's obviously something lacking there.
See, I think it was an interview with Zebo recently, but they spoke to him about whether he wanted to go abroad.
Yeah.
But he spoke about it as a business decision, sort of weighing up his money. Like, he loves Munster, but I think he's got a couple of years ago he turned them down. But this time, like, he was single, whatever, having a great time. But now he's got a girlfriend and he's got a kid, and the money's sort of weighing into it a lot more. So,
like, I think it came up. I think it came up on the radio the other day. They were talking about would he leave, would he not leave, and again, the focus was, listen, I mean, he's still one of the most creative players in the team that they have. You lose him, you're going to lose bums on seats, which is a big concern because they have injuries. They have other players that have left, like Hanrahan, who in my opinion was they really needed to keep. And one of the things that did come up was, Sexton went over. Sexton had a kid, found it a bit difficult, and ended up, coming back in the end. But yeah, I mean, would you go over when you have a child? Would you move your entire family?
If the money was right, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're being offered hundreds and thousands, then it could give them decent education, decent life. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know about you. I'd hand over my firstborn.
It's a good trade. So obviously, Deck, you're a Leinster fan. Let's talk about them now. Leo Cullen, like, he's only had, the same way as you've heard most coaches when they come in, they've only had 8 weeks, 9 weeks so far, and he's fourth in the table, which is all right. Europe, maybe not so much. What's your view so far of Leo Cullen and his?
Look, I'm happy enough. You need to tailor your expectations. We knew it was going to be risky getting rid of Matt O'Connor. While I was one of the ones gunning for that, towards the end in the last 3-4 months of his tenure, I was kind of cutting back on my anti-mockness, because I thought to myself, look, if you get rid of him, who are you going to have as your backup option? Who are you going to get? Who are you going to convince? In the end, we didn't find anybody. We got Leo Cullen in. He does seem to be a hard taskmaster. He's not being, buddy and friendly towards everybody in Leinster, which is good to see. You have to realise it's not just him that's new. We also have Gerv for the backs coach, and he's only come up from the A's team, and then McQuilkin and what's his name. I mean, it's a fairly green coaching team, and we knew it was going to be difficult. But the good thing is, I mean, it's actually both Leinster and Munster, both former players coming in. Foley had a bit more experience, but both of them are pandering to the fans in terms of talking about playing the Munster style and the Leinster style, and you kind of have to ask the question, is it possible to play those two styles? We can see that Munster has become quite a bit inconsistent. They're third in the table, which is nice to see, but there's some weird performances in there and some odd losses as well.
We'll see. For Munster, one of the biggest criticisms has been at fly half, which gets us to this whole transfer merry-go-round. So I'll try and explain it briefly.
Yeah.
Ben Theo, outside centre for Leinster, is potentially off. He's Australian Rugby League convert who's come over to Ireland. He's Ireland qualified in, is it a year and a half? Or is he qualified already?
Sorry, I didn't realise I was on mute there. Yeah, no, he's Irish qualified from next November, so if he renews his contract.
Okay, so about 11 months. He's English qualified through his mother, and he's already Australian qualified. So
and New Zealand.
And probably some Pacific Islands as well,
Samoa.
I think, as well. Yeah. Yeah, thought I was forgetting one. So he's thinking about internationally, whether to do that. And then obviously that leaves a gap at outside centre, and that's where Robbie Henshaw comes in from Connacht, with Leinster trying to sign, and then Ian Madigan as well is not getting much game time, or not getting starts at 10, which apparently Munster are after him as well. I mean, what are your views on those, do you think?
Well, to go back to a small point you made earlier, Ziva was talking about it being a business decision. Bristol were prepared to throw $500,000 at him, which was a bit of a shock. He turned them down, saying, look, if I'm going to move to another team, I'm not going to move to a team that's in a second division. Not to be, I paraphrased there, he didn't say it as bluntly. And then he kind of implied the only other option that's really on the table is Quins, and he was kind of talking about that being, matter-of-factly. Now the news is broken that they want him down at Munster, and you can see quite a lot of Leinster fans in the sub and Munster fans as well talking about, look, you need game time, you might as well do it. It's good for Irish rugby in total, and this is what David Nusafora has been brought in from the Australian Union to do, is to shape us more like the New Zealand setup, which is move players around, maximise their game time, maximise their skill set. You need to lose this grasp on provincial identities and, just suck it up and realize we need to get these players with game time in key positions, get them improving, get teams winning, and this will maximize the amount of players that we have available for the national team, and that's what this is all about. So tentatively, yes, I suppose I'd say he probably should move, because if Robbie Henshaw comes in, he's taking up his position at 12, so that's a position gone for Madigan and Reid. And if Teo leaves, which, there are rumours, the rumour mill's in full swing at the moment. I don't know if he's leaving. I don't know if he's going to England. I don't know if he's going to Australia to the Queensland Reds because he's pissed off that we got rid of Matt O'Connor and Matt O'Connor brought him in, and they're both ex-leagueies. So there's that connection. So I don't know where he's going. If he stays, we'll see Henshaw 12 and Teo at 13. If he leaves, will we see Henshaw 13? Who will we see at 12? Or will we see Henshaw 12 and Gary Ringrose at 13? I mean, there's so many questions. It's a very, don't take this the wrong way, it's a very English problem that we have at centre at Leinster. So
fair enough. CC, what do you think about it?
Oh God, it's a bit too much at the moment for someone who's not Irish to handle. I really don't understand, to be honest, what because it's a bit odd to me, I suppose, the fact that the provinces are starting to be treated like that was saying, like the New Zealand franchises, where they're more like businesses, I suppose, that share assets rather than teams that have dedicated players. So I suppose that's a bit confusing to me at the moment, but it could be the way the Welsh regions are going as well. Maybe one day. It could be a great idea. It could be a terrible one.
See, this is what I find weird with the Scottish system sometimes. Is if you're Ian Madigan, you're looking to play for Ireland as the starting 10, I'd imagine. That's his ultimate goal. He's not getting the game time because there's someone ahead of him who's playing regularly, and then he's been playing well. I mean, fair play to Sexton. He's been playing well. He's gone off the ball a bit recently. But would your best career move not be going to another Irish province?
Is that for me? Or is that for
just in general?
Well, I'd say, like, if we're to just let this whole provincial identity go and focus more on the Irish team, which is what the IRFU is all about, then yes. Otherwise, if you're going to let pride get in the way and say, I want to play for Leinster, I want to be the best for Leinster, you've got competition. You've got your career is essentially going to be blocked, because we have a fantastic academy that's churning out players and we only have 15 starting positions. That's the matter of fact. I mean, there's no other way of putting that. And if you really want to prove yourself, if you really want to make your mark, win those European Cup games, or impress Joe Schmidt, you need to have game time and you need to be in a key position. And if that's on his plan, then he'll do it. If he wants to go off and make money while playing in a key position, well, as I said, Harlequins are looking for him.
Yeah, fair enough.
And that's just essentially what it is.
I think that's probably a good move as well. So the one team that aren't involved in this transfer merry-go-round are Ulster. They're sitting... They are sitting,
fifth,
I think, fifth at the moment.
Yep.
Yeah. The lowest of the regions, which is surprising. All jam-packed second to fifth. They've kind of had a tough run recently. They lost to Saracens at home. Bonus point win for Saracens as well. They beat Edinburgh, but they had quite a few injuries after that game. Dan Toohey and Inda Henderson probably been the main ones. Darren Cave as well, getting injured. That's kind of
previous injuries as well, which is Jared Payne. It's not an easy season for them. They've already changed coach. They had a caretaker in. They now have Les Kiss in. Les Kiss, fantastic coach, very analytical. He would have been the analyst for Ireland. Really drilling down into the other teams and the opposition, how do they play and their players, and then how to counter that. Now he was a defence coach, and when you're a defence coach, what I've heard from several interviews is you really get to understand attack, because you have to analyze another team's attack and then look at your own team and think about how can we shut that down.
Yeah.
So they definitely have a fantastic coach in there. It's too early to say. I mean, Pat Lam's in there 3 years. He's doing fantastic. We can all see what his thought pattern is, how he's working. Leo Cullen's a bit too early to really say. He's trying to pander to our fans, but there's handling mistakes, there's basic errors, and people are frustrated, and Sexton's frustrated. He's off. Then you look at Munster, and something similar is going on there. So we don't know. It's a period of change for a lot of these Irish teams, and I feel that us is a bit hard done by. They could have beaten Leinster, or Leinster could have done one or two more passes going to hand. We could have actually inflicted a worse result on them in Dublin when they were up here.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I can't really comment on them. I haven't seen many of their matches this season.
I watched them play Saracens, and they looked really plain and average. The fullback Dark, he messed up for 2 of their tries, and I just didn't look up. Saracens are the only Ludic.
Ludic wasn't playing well. Yeah.
Saracens, but fair play to them. They're the only team in the top 3 leagues that have unbeaten this season, and I don't think many teams look like stopping them, to be honest. But they've made them look very plain, and they're already in danger of going out of Europe after 2 games, which is obviously not good. They're playing Toulouse this week. We'll go on to that later on.
Yeah.
So my next question, which is kind of an Irish whole, the RFU, well, Stephen Moore, the Australian captain and hooker, was planning a move to Munster, but the RFU blocked him from moving there. What's your view on that?
I'd say if you look at any of my posts on the sub, you'll see that I'm quite a fan of the Irish system and how we're promoting Irish players, and we have a limited number of non-Irish qualified players on the books and 1 development player and so on, and this is in place so we can promote Irish talent and keep it local, but let's be a bit pragmatic for a second. Munster have just gone through a rake of injuries. Munster's front row isn't exactly what it used to be. They used to be the front row of the Irish team. That's swapped over to Leinster. We've got essentially 5 out of 6 of the 6 front rowers in any of the Ireland squads. They need someone to come in with that experience, that charisma. He is Irish. He has 2 Irish parents. He lived 5-6 years in Galway. Not the longest amount of time, but it is important that he comes in and imparts that expertise, charisma, and leadership on the next generation. They need it, even if it's just 1 or 2 seasons. Let's bite the bullet, is my opinion on that.
Fair enough. Would you, CC, your view is sort of a similar situation with Gatland Wales? We'll go to that one later on, but do you think it's right that the RFU's coming to intervene?
No, I think maybe if it was getting like too much, maybe if teams were sort of starting to sign a bit too many foreign players, then maybe the union should sort of step in and say, "Hey, look, stop it." But I think with someone like, you have like with England, like the marquee signings and things like that.
Yeah.
For the big names. I think that could have done a Munster a world of good having Stephen Moore there. I don't think the RFU really have a right to tell them, or not even just to tell them, to actually forcefully block the move.
Yeah, see, that's the thing that gets me as well.
And standing in the way of it. A bit like what Gatland did with Faletau.
Yeah.
Which I know you're going to want to talk about
yeah,
a bit
we'll
more later.
That's why I'm laughing.
We'll go on to the Welsh teams. So sitting at the top of the Pro 12 are the Scarlets. They've kind of missed the Pro 12 playoffs the last few years, like only just, not by a huge margin, but they're playing great rugby. CC, you probably know a bit more about them than me, if you want to just up the Scarlets a bit.
I mean, the things with the Scarlets, they've made probably maybe not like the best signings, but the most consistently good signings this season. Or maybe not this season, like over the past couple of seasons to build this squad. I mean, the biggest one being obviously DTH van der Merwe.
He seems like a great signing.
Who's been huge. I think it's 4 tries now in 4 league games so far. So he's been brilliant from the start. I mean, getting Regan King back, he had a bit of an iffy season last season, but he's come in now, and he's probably created, or at least had a part in half the tries the Scarlets have scored now. With his passing. Who else have they brought in? John Barkley, who they brought in a couple of seasons ago, has just sort of become a part of the team now. You can't really imagine a Scarlets without John Barkley in it now, which is weird. And they've really sort of grown well together, and they've started. They've always played good rugby, but now they're actually starting to play winning good rugby, and that's been the difference really. There has been some luck. They almost lost out to a couple of Italian teams earlier in the season. A couple of refereeing decisions gone their way. But yeah, that's a part of any team really, so you can't really complain about that.
It's part of rugby. It's part of sport.
Yeah, I think they deserve the spot they're at. They've played really well. But this injury list that's come to them now is really worrying. Because I mean, the main ones being DTH van der Merwe and James Davis.
Yeah.
James Davis probably has I imagine he has a whole room in his house for all the Man of the Match awards he's won over the past couple of seasons now. Because he's just been incredible for the Scarlets. But sort of unknown outside of them. I imagine it's one of those sort of players that underrated in the wider sort of rugby world.
Yeah, see, that was going to be my next question. With the Scarlets playing so well and it being post World Cup, obviously teams do a lot of chopping and changing, bringing in players that are sort of lesser known or more up and coming. If you were going to predict a handful of players from the Scarlets coming in to the next Wales squad, who would you pick?
First and foremost, absolutely James Davis. He's very Justin Tipperick like. He's very good. He used to play sevens actually for Wales.
Oh right, wow.
I think he captained them the season before he signed for the Scarlets. So he's a very good ball player. But he's brilliant in defence too. He's constantly over the ball, constantly winning penalties and turnovers. He seems to be all over the pitch at once. Other players, I mean, they got a couple of hookers coming through. Not brilliant, but they got Emmitt Phillips and things like that. They've actually got a good forward pack now, which is one of the things that Danny Wilson brought in when he was forwards coach.
Yeah,
the Scarlets never really had a functioning pack.
I mean, from an outsider's perspective, I've always, or I suppose we Irish have always looked at the Scarlets having this fantastic back line, but being a bit mute up front, a bit quiet, not really intimidating, and because they don't have that platform, they're not really able to build from that, get the ball possession, and then use that back line well. I mean, they would have come up with wins, but less consistent, and that's why they've always been like position between 5th and 8th in the Pro 12 for the last few years. So, I mean, it's good to see that exists now. Isn't there a captain forward as well?
Oh, the Scarlets.
Yeah.
With them, it's very. They seem to change captain every week. They've half the time it's John Barkley. Sometimes it's Ken Owens. It can be anyone really. I mean, they've got the thing is with the Scarlets is weird. They've got these great couple of forwards coming through, and yes, they've got a great back line, but none of them really seem to be that consistently good in that you consider them as possible Wales candidates for the next couple of seasons.
I suppose that comes with the experience in the territory, though.
Yeah,
immersed into it and you become more consistent.
I mean, Aled Davis, their scrum half. I mean, Gareth Davis was injured for quite a lot of last season.
Yeah.
So they had to sort of bring in this guy, Aled Davis, and he's been good but not brilliant, and that's the sort of thing they're suffering from at the moment in their backs. Is that, I mean, they had Jordan Williams, who was all over sort of. He's the next Shane Williams sort of thing. And then he just sort of disappeared a little bit. He never really got anywhere, and that seems to be quite a frequent thing with the Scarlets backs at the moment.
So are these all coming through their own academy and local feeder teams, or are these?
Yeah, these are all guys who have come through, Carmarthen Quinn, Llandovery, or Llanelli kind of thing.
Yeah. And
they're coming through and playing for the Scarlets, and maybe having a good game or two, but they're never really getting anywhere.
So, let me just to understand how things are in the Welsh regions. So, are they kind of developed more so by these local teams like Llanelli or any of the others, in fairness, and then they move on and are just selected by Scarlets, or would Scarlets have this kind of academy system where they capture these players and say, right, you're ours now?
Yeah, the way it sort of works at the moment, I think it might be changing soon. But so these up and coming players will have a kind of weird half deal with a principality club and a region.
Yeah.
So they're playing maybe most or half of their games for the principality club, then during internationals they'll play for the region, or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the Ospreys. You got it's probably my favourite example. You got Dav Howells. He's played maybe 5 or 6 games for the Ospreys in his career. I think he only got his first Pro 12 start this season. Yet in 2013 he played for Wales. He got a cap.
Yeah.
And he was playing for Neath, I think, at the time. So that's the kind of system they have, where they even though they contract with the region, they might not actually ever play for them.
Okay, right.
No, because and they're just sort of kept in the Premiership as a kind of incubator, I suppose.
Yeah. So like the reason I was just asking was, you're talking about maybe a lack of consistency for some players, not a lot of players. I don't know the numbers or who's kind of had that hot and cold experience in the Pro 12 or for the regions, but I was just curious because I just feel as if if you would have this standardized academy system, you've got the professional club's eyes are on those players with professional setup and coaches and support roles as well, looking after them and seeing them develop and seeing where they're good and where they're not. And I just feel maybe that would be a way to get more consistency, because at the moment I'm kind of confused. Even after your answer, I think I still am a bit confused. But yeah, no, I mean that's interesting to hear though.
They are all taken care of by the regions, but it's just the Premiership is used as a sort of competition to keep them going. But the fact is, it's a completely different competition with a completely different style of play.
Yeah. And against smaller people as well. I mean, if you're a professional player, if you're contracted professionally, I would assume you're going to be bigger anyway than the average principality player. No.
Yeah, no. Most of these guys are. I mean, it's a semi-professional league technically, but most of these they're basically amateur.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not doing it full time, you are going to be smaller anyway. I mean, it's a very weird thing to say out loud, just by the sound of that sentence. If you're not playing fully professional, if you're semi-pro or if you're amateur, you're going to be smaller. I mean, it's a matter of fact. That's just how the sport is, but it is funny to say it out loud.
Yeah. Right, so Scart's at the top of the table. Then we go down quite a bit, and Cardiff sitting in 10th, so I've got to bring up the table.
Cardiff.
They are sitting in 10th, CC Hill team, but that doesn't really tell the whole story. They've had the second highest point score, and under Danny Wilson, another new coach coming in, what do you think his impact's been so far? Do you think it's been good, or more time to see how it goes?
He absolutely needs more time because it's one of the things where you can see the changes he started to make, and you can see it sort of starting to take shape. But it is going to take time. I mean, you can see it with the second highest points scored in the table, as evidence itself. The fact that their attitude is starting to change now. You watch Cardiff Blues last couple of seasons, and then maybe apart from the occasional freak game, they just looked like they didn't want to be there. Imagine a whole team of Alex Cuthberts just standing there with their hands on their hips, shaking their head the entire thing. That's basically what it was like. It was painful to go down there, to go down to the Arms Park and watch these people getting paid to just stand around and look bored. But Danny Wilson's come in now. It seems the players like him. There's no big revolt this time, or whatever the hell happened with Mark Hammett. I don't even know.
Yeah,
it was a bit weird.
But it seems there's actually a change going on. They want to attack, they want to play, they want to score tries. The defence has been shaky, which is probably why they're in 10th. I was shaky. It's more like an earthquake, but it's shown signs of improvement as well. I mean, going back to the Connacht game, there were some great moments of defence in that game. I mean, there was even some great moments in defence against the game against Harlequins, which second half was awful. Don't even want to talk about that one. But the first half had some great moments of defence, which we haven't really seen from Cardiff in a while, which is nice to see.
Fair enough. Who's been standout for you this season, if you could pick two people?
Ellis Jenkins. He hasn't played many games because of Cardiff are kind of healthy in the 7 department at the moment, with Sam Warburton and Josh Navidi and Ellis Jenkins. Obviously, when Sam Warburton's available, he's going to start. But otherwise, it's sort of a fight between Navidi and Ellis Jenkins. And I think so far, it's not really fair on Navidi because he's been injured, but I think so far, Ellis Jenkins has been brilliant. Unfortunately, he's injured at the moment, but he's had a brilliant start to the season. Dan Fish as well. Got to bring him up.
You never stop.
I mean, he's the kind of player you think wouldn't be a professional player, and then he does something magic, and it's like, oh, okay.
Just looks average.
Yeah.
Okay is your reaction, yeah.
Sorry, Dan Fish, if you're listening to this.
No, he's had some brilliant moments in attack. He can really sort of bring, when he's playing as an attacking fullback, which is what you want, he can bring the whole back line to life.
And he's a fullback, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. But he loves to play up front. He loves to run it. He's not a big kicker. But then you got guys like, I think the whole thing with Reece Patchell. Got to bring this up with him.
Yeah.
Rumours of him going to the Scarlets and everything. He hasn't really seemed 100% there this season. Not like he has before, where he's kicking 62-metre kicks and doing all kinds of ridiculous things. He hasn't seemed... he set him some great tries. There's some... like the one against Munster. He had a brilliant game against Munster. But hasn't been as consistent as he has been. Which is a real issue because we have no 10s in Cardiff, really, at all. We've had to bring in Jared Evans. I don't know whether you've seen any matches with him in. 18-year-old guy straight from the Premiership. Before his first game for the Blues, he played against Nottingham for a Premiership Select 15.
Yeah.
Which shows how much we're scraping the barrel, really, for a 10 at the moment.
Do you want Ian Madigan?
I'll take him.
I hear he wants game time.
And on the non-playing side, they've announced that they're going to get a new stadium, and they're just redeveloping Arms Park. Is it?
Yeah, by the looks of it, they sort of announced it quite a while ago, but it was more of a sort of in the pipeline thing.
Yeah.
They've made it a bit more concrete today, but from what I remember from last time, and someone else also posted on the sub as well the information from last time. The stadium, they're going to change the direction of it, so it's facing in the same direction as the Millennium, or the Principality, as you should now call it.
Please don't.
And I assume we're keeping the 4G pitch. Don't see why we wouldn't.
So who's paying for it actually? Is it?
Oh, the whole Cardiff Blues thing is owned by I think it's like the Cardiff Athletic Club,
right?
Who are, I believe, insanely rich. And I think that's what it's being funded by. And it's also part of some weird deal they've got at the Arms Park where there has to be a sports stadium there the whole time or something.
Right.
It's some weird ancient like contract thing that was written up in the 1800s or something ridiculous. But it means that it always has to have some kind of state-of-the-art stadium there or something. I don't know. I could be just making all this up. I have no idea.
4G pitch in 1895. I remember you guys left though a few years ago to go to what's the other large stadium there? The football stadium.
The Cardiff City Stadium.
So I mean, unfortunately, it's all the Pro 12 troubles, and especially the Welsh Regions troubles with attendance. So obviously the reason. So is the capacity going to be increased at the Cardiff Arms Park? I think it's around 15,000 now or so. Thereabouts.
Yeah.
Is that going to be increased? Or is that?
I think it's around 12,000 at the moment in the Arms Park.
Okay, smaller than that. Yeah.
I'd imagine for the new stadium it will be around 15,000. I can't imagine them going any bigger.
Yeah.
If they don't include terraces, I will kill someone. Because it's just.
Well, the atmosphere is better.
Yeah, it's so much better.
That was the same situation with they want to redevelop the RDS for Leinster, and everybody was up in arms because originally there was no plans for a terrace section, and then in response to that they said, oh, we'll have 1,000 places for a terrace section, but there's still no concrete plans. I don't know, maybe that's changed, but I think every stadium needs a terrace section for rugby anyway.
Yeah. I think the new thing is with this development is it wouldn't just be the stadium. It would be a hotel complex, bars, shops, things like that, and make it into like an Arms Park sort of retail thing. I don't know.
Oh, I didn't realise there was that much space. I mean, I didn't actually go into the Cardiff Arms Park when I was in Cardiff, but it didn't look like there was that much room.
There isn't, I suppose, but I think that's the way the stadium is laid out.
No, sorry. Didn't they have plans that they're going to develop that at the Millennium Stadium? There were plans lately that they said there's going to be like a hotel complex, office block flats, and maybe part of that is going to go over towards the Cardiff Arms Park area. I could be.
That will be. Me. No, yeah, you are right. That would be a separate section there. That would be the Westgate Street development. Which is very close to the Arms Park, but I think it would be slightly separate because it would be part of the Millennium Stadium area rather than the Arms Park area.
Okay, I didn't think there was much difference. I mean, I know they're obviously separate grounds. There's obviously then separate ownership for that, but I thought, because I saw those plans, I wasn't too sure they kind of included in it, or is there some relation between them or not, but that's going to be pretty weird now, considering that there's going to be that development at the Millennium Stadium, and then obviously now we get the developments at Cardiff Arms Park, and now you're going to have hotels and flats at both of them. I
think the idea is just to make a rugby super park, I suppose.
It's called Cardiff already.
Yeah, I've gone there in the World Cup. It was awesome. Just for Highland Canada, atmosphere around the whole city was amazing.
I wish I had the opportunity to at least fly in without a ticket and had a place to stay. I'm kicking myself I didn't do that, because when I was there for the Six Nations, it was amazing, but it was not comparable from what I heard. And I remember telling everybody it's like visiting Mecca except as a rugby fan.
Yeah, the World Cup atmosphere is different. I mean, you had Irish fans cheering Canada when they scored a try towards the end. everyone's there for a good time, basically. Yeah. No one's there to...
Rugby's Woodstock, sure, everybody's nice and friendly and happy and, well, okay, we won't say anything else.
Until you get knocked out in the group stages.
Sorry, me and Chad Cheese here didn't have that experience, so...
I don't have a bleeper, so I refrained from... Right, so going up on the table to 9th is Newport going Dragons. Now, I can't avoid this. Being a Bath fan, I've got to bring up Felipe Faletau. He's announced that he's signing with us for this week from the Dragons. But the whole situation seems such a mess, and I feel just sorry for the Dragons, really. Because, first of all, we were trying to buy him at the start of this season for 150,000, buy out his contract. The Dragons wanted to do it. The player, I think, had made clear that he wanted to move. Well, not... He wasn't unhappy, but I think he just was happy playing for Newport and seeing out his contract. But he wanted to move, and Gatland blocked it. And as we've seen this week, he's signed, and the Dragons have lost out on 150,000, which I'm sure could have done them the load of good, and I just feel bad for them.
I think the interesting thing is that a couple of years ago we had the what they called the civil war between the Welsh Union and the regions.
Yeah,
where they finally signed this peace treaty to get along, and the whole Faletau situation has sort of unravelled it a little bit. It's sort of gone beyond him now, because there was the thing you mentioned at the start with Gatland blocking his move.
Yeah.
The hope was the WRU could get him to sign a dual contract.
Yeah.
The talks with the dual contract fell through, and apparently the WRU gave their blessing for Faletau to move to Bath.
Right.
All this was done without the Dragons knowing.
What?
So,
whoa.
Because he was out of contract, I suppose they felt they didn't have to let the Dragons know at the end of the season, or whether it was just an oversight, I don't know. But it's basically made this rift again between the unions, and the regions.
See, the way I saw
the
it,
Dragons.
Yeah, the way I saw it was that he was off the dual contract, and then I think in the media I read that he just went past the deadline of timing, so they were like, "Oh, we hope he'll sign it again," but the offer's off the table at the moment. And then I think that's just backfired.
Yeah.
It's
And
like trying to strip line him and pretend that you're not interested. You walk away from the table. Oh, you're overtime. Oh no, it backfired.
Yeah.
I mean, from completely outside perspective, it just looked like a shit show. Excuse my French.
Yeah.
And it's going to do far more harm than good. I mean, obviously, I don't know the inner workings of the politics there. I mean, was it specifically Gatland who said no, you're not moving?
Yeah.
Or was it the WRU or some blazer-wearing, cabal?
In the reports, it was all that Gatland blocked the move. I think because they wanted to keep him in Wales, and they didn't want him using up one of the two spots.
I mean,
for foreign players.
Because it was Gatland. Personally, I don't think that's as bad. I think it's a different type of bad than if it was, these blazer-wearing, old men saying, no, we're going to have control over him and tell the regions what to do.
Yeah.
As opposed to Gatland, who, he's the head coach of Wales. Is he not supposed to have the best interests of the national team at hand? And the players as well. He knows the players, so from my perspective, while it is a bit of a shitty thing to do, and it just got out of hand, I think it would have been worse if it would have been some sort of WRU conspiracy to keep the regions down. No, am I wrong in looking at it that way, or what do you guys think?
That's definitely a fair.
Yeah.
It's definitely preferable to I'd rather Gatland make that decision than Roger Lewis.
Yeah.
I'd rather Roger Lewis not make any decisions ever, but that's just the way things are.
Yeah.
I suppose the only upside is that Dragons have been surviving without Faletau for ever since he's been playing for Wales. Really, And they've managed without him on a couple of occasions quite well. He's a brilliant player and he's brilliant for the Dragons, but he's not that kind of rock in a team that if he goes, everything will fall apart.
So kind of
It's
I mean, the way Robbie Henshaw's been missing this season from Connacht for so long, he's played 2-3 games max. Connacht been doing fantastic without him, and he's injured again. Okay, fine, let's continue winning.
Yeah. Basically, it's a shame that he's going, but it won't kill the Dragons.
Seems a bit like Dr. Chin when he was playing for Cardiff. Like, he'd never really set the world alight, but like for country, he's a lot better.
Dr. Chin.
Yeah, Dr. Chin. I'm talking about Chin Rob, in case anyone doesn't know. Yeah, and for me, I don't know as well, Lynn Jones signs a new contract, a new 2-year contract in the summer. And when he signed it, he said, the first 2 years have been about change, but the next 2 will be about regaining respect in the rugby world of rugby through consistent performances and results.
See, that's funny to me.
Yeah, well,
it's
consistent, but I mean, has it really gone up under him?
There have been changes, but he has a kind of weird symbiotic relationship with Kingsley Jones as well. When it's impossible to tell who's the head coach. They just they're always together, like attached to the hip. It's really weird. And the Dragons have improved at home, especially. I mean, they're almost unbeatable at home, which is really weird. They've had good results against Ulster, Leinster, Munster, recently Sale in the European Cup. So they have a really good home record. They can't win away for Toffee. It's hilarious. But I don't really know what he's done there to really make a huge difference. I don't know whether Dragons might benefit from someone who will use the talent that the Dragons have better.
Yeah, because you see teams like, no disrespect to them, but you see Connacht were in a sort of similar position when Pat Lam began, and they've made massive strides, but the Dragons don't really seem to have improved much from being like in the position of being the 4th region. I mean, no disrespect to them, but like the table reflects that in the last few years.
Yeah. I mean, they could do with someone really who's like Pat Lam, I suppose, just change the whole attitude at the Dragons. They have this kind of weird, stagnant acceptance that they'll, even though they're doing better than Cardiff at the moment, that they are this kind of 4th region. And despite the talent that they have there, I mean, they've brought through guys like Callum Amos and the Tyler Morgan, another guy coming through, Ashton Hewitt, who's pretty good. A couple of forwards like Nick Cudd. They brought through Falatau. They've got these players, but they just, similar to the Blues, half the time they don't really want to be there. And I think that there's an attitude change more than anything, really.
It is. I mean, with the Blues, especially over the last few years, you would have always looked at the team sheet and said, ooh, if they'd click, if they'd be motivated, if they'd be, gunning to win with 100% motivation, you'd be quite worried. But every time you look at the Blues, anyway, at least from my perspective, they just don't care.
Yeah.
Just lackadaisical. Look, it's rugby. Let's play. I mean, I don't know, admittedly, the Dragons that well, and I would have said, weaker team than Cardiff, so that plus any sort of the attitude as well wouldn't then be as good, but I don't know. I just don't know them as well.
Yeah. I'm moving on to the 4th region, the Ospreys. They had a pretty dismal start to the year. They didn't win a game for the first, I think it was 4 or 5 games.
5, I think, yeah.
Now they've started to pick up form and they're moving up the table. I mean, there have been semi-finalists for the last number of years or been there or thereabouts. You'd imagine that they'd be aiming for sort of the same again. What do you guys think of them this season?
Is it the World Cup that's done this to them? I don't know. It's a bit strange. I'm not used to seeing the Ospreys this low. They normally just beat Leinster and annoy the hell out of me.
Yeah, I mean, during the World Cup, there was some odd selection decisions. Not odd, maybe, but inconsistent. It seemed the bench would start one week, and then they'd swap over with the starting team the next week, and it was just a bit all over the place, I suppose.
Yeah.
Brendan Leonard was a kind of a big signing. He hasn't really clicked, I think, like they wanted him to. Because I mean, I suppose they signed him thinking, great, former All Black, this is going to be brilliant. When Reece Webb's gone, he'll be our saviour. But then you remember, oh yeah, former All Black, he was playing for Zebra last season. He hasn't really pushed them forward, I suppose, in the same way Reece Webb has for the past couple of seasons.
Yeah.
Not having Dan Biggar was huge, obviously.
And
Sam Davis
being out for the season as well, I guess, after the season he had last season. It's going to be a big loss.
Yeah, I mean, Sam Davis is a great talent, but he's too inconsistent, I suppose, to be a good replacement for Dan Biggar. I mean, he came on last week or maybe the week before and played better than Biggar, I suppose, but still not got that same level of reliability that you have with Biggar.
Yeah.
Alan Wynne-Jones, obviously, he's missed in any team that he's not in. So when he was out for the World Cup, they missed him huge amounts. But yeah, with the internationals coming back, they started to pick up a little bit of steam. I mean, those last 5 minutes against Clermont in the European Cup, if you watch that, was amazing. To go from, I think, I can't remember what the score was, possibly 32-17 down, to then within a minute getting 2 losing bonus points.
Wasn't it 2 tries in 2 minutes or something?
Yeah, it was ridiculous. The last try was one of the best tries of the season. It was incredible try.
Yeah. They ground out a win against Exeter, who have been on top form this season, which I didn't expect them to do, because they don't usually have fantastic Ospreys. Sorry, don't usually have fantastic record in Europe.
Well, if they win their home games, and I mean they've already picked the 2 losing bonus points up against Clermont, they're probably in with their best shot at getting to the quarterfinals in a long time.
Doing better than we are, anyway.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the Scottish clubs. I'll start with Edinburgh first. They were top of the table at the start of the season. They've kind of slipped off slightly. They're sitting in 7th now. I don't know, have you guys seen much of Edinburgh this season, or?
Not a huge amount, no. I mean, they won the first match against us anyway, I remember that. We just threw out, I think, 13 to 15 academy players against them and almost won, which, was a bit of a surprise. I think we got away with a losing bonus point from Edinburgh.
Fair enough.
Apart from that, I just saw maybe highlights of a few matches, saw one other match. No, 2 other matches. But they lost over the weekend. It was they played against Ulster, right?
Yeah, Ulster.
Yeah, that was it. And they inflicted a ridiculous amount of injuries on them just because, if we're going to lose...
If we're not going to win, just break the other team.
Exactly. Kind of basically the French tactic in the World Cup. God damn it.
So Solomon's their head coach, is signed until 2017, and since he's been in, there's been a huge amount of foreign players coming into Edinburgh, and they seemed at one point they were just signing everyone from the other side of the globe who had any sort of Scottish or grandparent, or it just seemed ridiculous. Like, even when they were signing them, they were like, he's got a Scottish grandparent, he's there because he's been offered the chance of international rugby if he plays well. And I don't know, I think for me personally, I'd prefer to look closer to home, but when you have players like John Hardy, who's earned a contract with Edinburgh, he played with the Highlanders before, they do make a big difference. I don't know what your guys' views are on that.
Well, I I'm having a quick look over the team sheet there. I mean, the running joke in the sub is, it's pretty much they just signed half of South Africa.
Yeah, well, half the prop forwards are
Yeah.
Edinburgh / yeah.
Yeah, but just having a quick look there, I find it funny. Just on a side note, there's a Cypriot player on the Blues team, and there's a Polish player on the Edinburgh team. I've never known this before. I've had a quick look through both teams, and it's just funny to see these. Not even a tier 2, barely even a tier 3. I mean, if there was a tier 4, I'm pretty sure both these countries would be in there. But yeah, no. I like my views anyway. I'm much more of a fan of this. Let's develop players from our own local region and province and area and kind of catchment. And you look at Scotland, and Scotland would be closest to the IRFU model. You look at Edinburgh, and you'd say Edinburgh really would be the home, or one of the homes of rugby in Scotland, which is kind of now, funnily enough, shifted towards Glasgow.
Yeah.
You then look at a country like Italy, where they're doing the same thing. Oh, you've got an Italian grandparent. You're going to play for us, and half their national team is not Italian, and they're not performing well. So you have these foreigners coming in, playing for the national team and playing for the local teams, and how is this supposed to inspire young players or people to pick up the sport, let alone amateur players already playing the sport?
Yeah.
And I'm kind of concerned seeing Edinburgh, a team that used to be quite good, or at least thereabouts. I seem to remember a semi-final a few years ago.
Yeah, they beat Toulouse.
Exactly, and now look at them, and it's a bit disappointing to see, because if you're not performing well, at least you've got that local talent. At least you're still developing local talent. Whereas if you're not performing the best, now they're not doing too poorly as well, and I'm not, apologies if people think I'm implying they are not doing well. If they're mid-table and you're looking at half the team, or about a third of the team to be a bit more realistic, not half, being foreign players, I'm not Scottish, I'm not an Edinburgh fan, but if I was, I'd personally not be concerned, but it'd be a bit, I'd prefer it to be more Scottish in my opinion. So,
yes, probably a good time, as we have no Scottish people. I'm the standing Scotsman living in Glasgow, but originally from Bath. If we've got any listeners who are willing to chip in about Scottish rugby or Italian rugby in the future, get in touch with us, because we definitely appreciate a bit of insight.
We're definitely not qualified enough to I mean, we can talk about Scottish rugby till the cows come home, but I'm pretty sure we'd have people there correcting us or listening to us going, oh my god, you're so wrong.
Yeah. Someone else with the Edinburgh team, actually, that I found funny, it was about a month ago. There was a list of there's a bit of work for the SRU contracting team to do over the Christmas holidays. There's 32 players that are going to be out of contract at the end of the season at Edinburgh.
Yeah.
Phil Burley, the starting fly half at the moment. Jack Cuthbert, the fullback. Dickinson, Fife. Ross Ford, Sam Hildager-Klein, Damien Hoyland, Stuart McKinley, Willem Lell, Matt Scott, Ben Toulis. These are all big players, and this is just some of them that I've just rattled off. I mean, they'd really need to use some of that money. I'm going to bring it up again as a Bath fan, but they need to use some of that money they've just got from Denton going to Bath. They need to use some of this to tie them down, because from my perspective, you see, they put up players like Denton being sort of the figurehead of, well, not the figurehead, but one of the main people for the kit releases, and like he's your bright star for the future. And I think most of them have gone abroad now. You have like Richie Gray going abroad, and now Denton going down to Bath. You'd kind of hope that they'll tie down players like Sam Hildager-Klein that are up and coming. But I mean, if a big French side or even a Premiership side now with the more money, and they're kind of in danger of losing them. And they do have the money.
Yeah.
Because they got the Denton deal.
How much was that Denton deal actually? Sorry.
I don't actually know, but I think they would have used. They've not made it public
Okay.
how much it is, and I haven't got any indication of how much it would be. But I
Yeah.
think Tato's contract, so it must have been like a healthy amount.
We're not talking like Falatau
Probably
150,000
not as
worth,
much
but
as that, but still a decent amount.
yeah, 100 or thereabouts. I mean, in
Yeah,
fairness, let's be honest, £100,000, you could probably, top up 3 or 4 contracts here, probably even more, probably even 5. Throw an extra £20,000 on top of a few other contracts here, and that will probably keep at least 4 players.
yeah, and back rows is somewhere where they're quite strong already.
Yeah.
So like they've got Nassi Manu, they signed from the Highlanders, and John Hardy. They're flankers as well. So and a few more. So I mean, it's an odd area of the weekend. And that's probably a good move for Denton because he will be playing for us because we rotate our squads quite a lot.
So you said there's 30 players or 32 players out of
32
contract.
players. Yeah,
That's
that was in
80% of their team.
Yeah. So they're going to have a busy Christmas period, I think, trying to re-sign people.
Oh well, if their reps get a signing bonus, they're going to have a very good Christmas. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Or a very bad one.
And then going across 45 minutes away, we'll go to Glasgow. They're sitting sixth in the table. I've got to put it down to post World Cup fatigue. They were missing a lot of players at the start of the season, and then they've now had the players come back, and they've got injuries. I mean, at hooker, they've had to sign a Georgian hooker. I'm not going to try and pronounce his name because I'm just going to embarrass myself. But at hooker, they're down to their 4th choice, I think, or 5th choice now.
Yeah.
I'm putting it down to just post World Cup rather than anything. I think they are 6th, like it's not exactly the world, and they've played a game less.
Let's be honest, I was about to say Leinster and Glasgow, we missed a match each, and if we would have gone over to Glasgow, because it was a home match for Glasgow, and if we would have lost, we would potentially be 5th, even 6th, depending on how bad the defeat would have been.
Yeah, so I mean,
so who knows?
I don't think obviously there's no reason to panic, and I think things are pretty good around the whole of the Glasgow Warriors. I mean, I think it was 16 of the 31 of the World Cup were Scottish players, were from Glasgow, and
then another 6 on top of that. I think there were 22 players in total.
Yeah, from America and Fiji and things. But yeah, I think it just looks like a really good place to be around at the moment. And Gregor Townsend signed a new deal today to take him to 2017, which is when
Cotter is packing his bags.
Well, I think it's just he's being groomed for it, which
easily.
Yeah, and I think he'll do great. He's done great for Glasgow already. I mean, he's turned them around, and a city that is traditionally a football city. I mean, you see Celtic, Rangers, even Partick Thistle more than Glasgow.
Well, it's fantastic to see. I mean, it is contributing to the growth of rugby in the region and even for Scotland as well.
Yeah.
Because if the national team isn't doing too great, there's still Glasgow to fall back on. Which is why, again, I'd love to see Edinburgh do well, and Glasgow definitely has a lot more Scottish players in it, and this is just a bit surprising.
And they're keeping the spine of it as well.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Johnny Gray signed him for 3 years, and he's been made the captain this year.
But that's what I mean with the comparison between the two teams. Is at least Glasgow has that spine, which is Scottish, but Edinburgh just seems to be. Let's go out and find someone, and this foreign player will be so key to it. And it doesn't seem to be resonating as much. I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe there are Scottish fans out there that are going to chew me out. We don't know.
That's kind of the same as my views. But I'd love someone like Duncan Weir to be 10 at Edinburgh. I don't know if he'd appreciate the move or would even want to move. But having Phil Burley at Edinburgh, he's not really.
Well, I don't know if Ian Madigan has a Scottish grandmother, but I mean, if I want him, I hear he's looking for a job at the moment.
Put on the accent, drink some iron brew, and just basically fit in. Now, we're all going to say this before we start on the Italian team, because none of us are experts on this, so apologies. But I don't want to beat a dead horse here, beat the horse with a dead stick, but or whatever the saying is, I'll just say it.
Dead
Horse
stick.
with a dead stick, yeah.
That's the one. Horse with a dead stick.
Aren't all sticks dead? Somebody falling off a tree? No.
Just make me look more stupid.
That's why I'm here.
11th and 12th, same week in, week out.
No surprises here, apart from the fact that I think the Cardiff Blues were 11th for a while. Like at least Zebra's been doing okay.
Yeah,
Zebra got a bonus point win against Cardiff, of course.
all right.
Of course.
Why wouldn't they? But yeah, something I was looking at when I haven't seen much of Treviso. I've only seen them a little bit this season. But when I looked at the results, they've had 9 games so far. They've got 6 bonus points, 6 losing bonus points. I'll just read them out. They've lost at home. They lost by 2 points to the Scarlets, 3 points to Ospreys, and 2 points to Munster. And then away from home, they lost by 7 points to Glasgow, 7 points to the Dragons, and then 5 points to Munster. I mean, that doesn't seem that far away from me from being,
especially away to
Munster. A completely different reading of the scores. That Glasgow Treviso game was absolutely awful. The weather's crap and Glasgow awful.
Yeah.
But it seems to me like they probably just need a few more key players, a few more big names there, and that could easily be the difference between the 2 or 3 pointers. I mean, there was 3 of those I read out that were 3 points, which, I mean, that's one penalty, and that's a completely different reading of the score on the table.
They are just unfortunately 2 boring teams to watch, though. No offense to them, their style is not great, and it just doesn't attract you to watch those matches as well. I only watched Leinster versus Treviso because, well, Johnny Sexton was back, and it was one of the first time in I think 5 years that we have put a score on them. So I mean, they are thereabouts, and they, it's like 1 score away from winning. Last year it was a brutal match, 2020 draw for Leinster, so they can put it to you, especially if it's shitty weather or they grind you down. It does happen, but it's frustrating to see them, and it's frustrating to see them lose so often and lose so narrowly, and it can't be motivating them in the future as well.
When they play at home, they do play surprisingly well.
Yeah.
They can hold most teams out for 60 minutes when they're playing at home and give you a real scare. They just can't finish games off, I suppose, that most of the other Pro 12 teams can.
Yeah.
Or at least not to the level of other Pro 12 teams.
Oh, like they have had 1 or 2 upsets in Treviso. And as I said, last year we were playing Treviso 2020. Whereas this year it was, I think, 23-3 or something. But that was a surprise. This was once off. It's been 5 years since we put a score on them in Treviso. So it is a difficult place to go to. And
I think Zebra are probably the most upsetting team I've ever had to watch with the Cardiff Blues. I think they've been there 3 or 4 times now. Since the first time they won about 2 years ago. Terrible record against Zebra. But I think that says more about Zebra than it does about the Blues. They have this kind of, even though they do lose all the time, they do look like they want to be there, which is a different kind of attitude to some of the Welsh regions. They have this kind of, they're like little terriers just running around having a great time, thinking they can win, even if they can't. Even if they're getting hammered 40-0, they will still go out and try and score a try. And even if it's not the most entertaining game, they can play like it is. I know it's hard, difficult to describe.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean.
Yeah, they play like they're fighting for a cup final, and it's the last minute, every minute.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just lack of resources and like a lack of an interest fixture with the Italian rugby. I wish I knew more about it. But just, I don't seem to be able to hold on to their key players. I mean, most of their key players play in England or France.
Well, isn't the problem with the Pro 12 and the 2 Italian clubs is they're paying the Pro 12 like $1 million or 1.5 million a year to allow them to play in? They're not actually part of the Pro 12.
Christ, didn't know that.
they're paying money to be part of it, and it's ridiculous. No, so that might have been an accumulative sum over a few years, but there was a rumor that they were going to leave the Pro 12 and they owed us money and so on and so on. And it's not a small sum. And take away that money, you're taking away from the Italian Union or Federation, sorry, is what it's called. And then they've got less funding. I think only one of the two teams is partly funded by the Federation; the other one's fully private. I think it's just a strange situation. Like, just to throw it out there, personally, I'd love to see an Italian league, or at least these Italian teams play in the Pro D2. But then again, they're going to be going up against teams with more money than Pro 12 teams. So it is a bit of a strange situation. An Italian league would be fantastic to see. Is anybody going to watch it? I don't know. This is why I'd love to have an Italian on here and at least talk to us about the state of rugby in Italy, because while I'm interested in it, it's there's not that much information out there.
Yeah, that's.
Well, I mean, there is an Italian league out there.
Yeah, there's an Irish player in it.
Yeah,
Calvisano play in the Challenge Cup, don't they?
Yeah, Calvisano are the current champions. I think they've won for the past couple of years.
Yeah.
And, even the Blues managed to beat them, which really shows the quality of the Italian league.
Oh, my God. Come on, be a bit more confident, will you?
It's the way with European, when I look for the draw for the, whatever it's called, the European Champions Cup, yeah. I look mainly for seeing if there's an Italian team in it, because usually, no disrespect to them, but they provide 10 points more often than not. This is the key for getting through, especially when qualification's so tight now.
Yeah, I'm actually still quite upset about this. Now, the IRFU is the one union that really was pushing the Italians need to be in there, or else it's not a European competition. By definition, I would agree with it, but you look at it, they're so, no offence, I am going to say the S word, they're so shit, no offence again, that you're guaranteeing 10 points to most of the other teams. Okay, 9 points or 8 points, either way.
2 wins.
Have they ever lost a European, or have they ever won a European match? Either of them?
One of them beat Toulouse a few years back. Yeah, it was like 9-7. It was a scrappy game, but
I remember that.
Yes,
thanks for reminding me.
That's probably the biggest one.
Zebra hammered Worcester a couple of weeks ago.
Worcester.
Oh, but that's the Challenge Cup, though. Yeah. Like talking about the Champions Cup, it is quite unfair to see
the big boy tournament.
Well, like, it's quite unfair. Like, Bath, Wasps, Leinster, Toulon, and then you look at which group is the Italian team in.
It's in Munster.
Yeah, Munster, Stade Francais, and Leicester. Like, come on, we know that 2 teams are going to exit that straight away. Like, it's a limited number of places, and I'd rather have one more, even English or French team. I'd be happy to sacrifice that Pro 12 spot. Of course, being Pro 12, I'd prefer to see that as well, but I don't think it's going to be as competitive, because who would have been in instead? I'm not too sure. Probably Connacht, and Connacht is probably still going to ship a fair amount of points as well. But it's a difficult one, because you want an Italian representation there, but when you do that...
But when they're not making progress and they're still whipping boys, then, I see what you mean, but... I think having them in is a good thing.
Yeah,
and
I'd say that.
They improve. Please improve. But yeah, it's just the way I see them at the moment is they're there for a home and away win, and away wins are absolutely crucial in Europe, and they're normally the team that has the best runner-up in, because they give them the extra win.
And that leaves then only one runner-up spot left for the other 4 groups, and you look at...
it's 3. It's 3 runners-up going now. It's the 5.
It's 3. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot.
Changing.
Either way, 2 for 4 other groups is a bit unfair.
Yeah.
And then you look at our group, and
I just don't see a runner-up coming from there. It's going to be whoever scrapes past the post first.
Oh God, no! It's not. Yeah, it's not going to be Leinster or Toulon.
Yeah. Don't know. Toulon maybe, but they've only played 1 game so far. So.
Yeah. Well, let's see. We're going up potentially against Nonu. So.
Yeah. While we're on the topic of Europe, we'll lastly just look at towards each of the Pro 12 before the double headers this week. So this is round 3 and round 4 of the European competitions. So just do it chronologically. Ulster playing Toulouse. What do you guys think?
Home for Ulster, isn't it? Or
yeah, it's home. It's Kingspan or whatever. It's Ravenhill, basically.
yeah.
In other words, if you're just going to predict who's going to win, who would you pick?
Difficult to call. I mean, gut feeling, I'd probably say Toulouse because Ulster is still going through a transitional period again. Key injuries to players, and I hated to see it, but they were hammered by Saracens. And Toulouse seems to be performing pretty decently as well recently, so I'm going to go with Toulouse.
Toulouse, CC?
Sorry, Ulster.
I'd say Ulster. I think they'll have something in it for them.
Yeah, see, I'm going to back Ulster as well, so you can be the rogue option, the Maverick.
I genuinely feel bad about saying it because I'm going to be supporting Ulster. I'm going to be hoping that they send the French packing, but I don't know. I'm a little bit what's the word I'm looking for? Pessimistic about Irish teams at the moment.
Fair enough. In the European Challenge Cup on the Friday is La Rochelle playing Zebra.
Game of the weekend.
Game of the weekend. I can't wait for that one.
Going for La Rochelle, home match. French teams turn up for home matches, and again, sorry, Zebra. Just you're Zebra.
French teams don't turn up in the Challenge Cup, though.
Yeah, because top 14 normally rest, and especially La Rochelle, they're 13th, I think, in the top 14.
Oh, are they? Okay,
yeah,
then I might switch to Zebra.
You're going to go... I'm still going to go with home win, I think, but...
I didn't know they're...
It's convincing.
But if they're 13th, they're facing relegation, and that's big in the top 14, and they're definitely going to be resting players there.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing I'm looking at. And Zebra have got fuck all to lose. Sorry for the pun. So, I mean, they might as well just go out and play their hearts out. Hopefully they will.
Fair enough. CC, who do you think you're going to pick?
I'll go for Zebra.
I'm back in the French then. I feel dirty. And another Friday one, Cardiff versus Montpellier.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I'm going to go for the same reasons, basically. French don't really care about the Challenge Cup. Cardiff have to win this to stay in the tournament, having already lost a home game. Yeah, I'm going to back Cardiff for it.
Fair enough. Deck even?
Yeah, I'm going to go for Cardiff as well. I mean, you actually won a match, which is surprising. Look, you have the players, you have the interest as well. UK and Irish teams tend to take the Challenge Cup a slight bit more serious than the French, as we said. And it's an away match, so fuck it, let's go with the Blues. Let's see if you can win another match.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Blues as well. Montpellier are 7th at the moment, so I'm kind of thinking that they'll be looking towards the playoffs. And I got La Rochelle mixed up with Oyonnax. La Rochelle actually 9th, so maybe not so dire as I thought. And the other Challenge Cup game on the Friday is Connacht Newcastle.
That's going to be a difficult one, but it's obviously a home match for Connacht, and Connacht in December. You're looking at Galway Sports Grounds. It's one hell of a place to go to. So I am definitely going with Connacht on this.
CC?
Yeah, back in Connacht, definitely.
Newcastle are 11th. I think they haven't won a game so far in the Premiership. They've had a draw. They drew with Sale 15-all, but I think they'll be resting all their players for Europe. I don't think they'll care this season, especially with Worcester playing a bit better. And London Irish seemingly being the shittest team ever. Sorry, London Irish fans.
Shit. Oh man, that's depressing. A fifth Irish team doing bad. Trust me, they're going to go out to Connacht and they're going to kick the ball and it's going to go backwards. So yeah, I'm going to go with Connacht. They're used to that.
3 Connachts. And on the Saturday, 1 o'clock kickoff is Glasgow Scarlets. If the game is on,
that's going to be very good, actually.
Yeah, especially since Glasgow lost their first game,
pretty badly,
against Northampton, which was pretty dire game to be honest. But CC, who would you pick for that one?
I mean, Scarlets have already beaten Glasgow in Glasgow this season, but that was one of their fluky wins. So I'm going to say, even though Glasgow have some injuries too, Scarlets have basically been decimated. So I'm going to have to say Glasgow.
Yeah, I think Glasgow are going to be looking for some revenge from the Pro 12 defeat. Same reasons, just the injuries for Scarlets. My God, that's going to be quite difficult. I think the next few matches for Scarlets in any competition is going to be difficult. So let's go with Glasgow.
Yeah, I'm going with Glasgow as well. I think they absolutely need to win this, especially since they lost their first home game. If they lose a second home game, then I think it's goodbye to your European aspirations.
Yeah.
Treviso are playing Stade Francais in the Champions Cup.
Oh, definitely Treviso. I mean, come on, they're going to hammer them.
Well, you say this, but Stade have been pretty
pedestrian.
Dire this, yeah. Like
where are they in the Pro 12? Where are they in the top 14?
They're 11th at the moment.
What?
They've won 4 games.
Same place as Oyonnax.
Of 6. Same place as Oyonnax. Oyonnax are 14th. Stade are 11th. Yeah, I don't know if they prioritise the top 14. I think Stade will probably still win, but I think it'll be close of contest. I think
I'm gonna go with Stade.
Is Treviso at home?
Treviso at home.
I'll back Treviso.
You going with Treviso?
Nice one.
Team Pro 12.
I'm the one that's not being consistent with the Pro 12 support here, but I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with Stade Francais.
I'm gonna go with Stade as well. I don't think
it's got to be like a 2-point, 3-point match.
Ospreys versus Bordeaux.
Ospreys.
Right, clean sheet it is then.
Yeah, I don't think we need to discuss. I mean, it's just they're coming on form anyway, and
they've got the hash train back, choo-choo.
And Dan Bigger going to be doing his dance.
Bordeaux have been pretty decent this season though. They beat Did they beat Exeter? No,
Exeter
tore them apart. I just remember that wrong. Right, my bad. And then the last game on the Saturday is Munster versus Leicester.
Munster going to edge it. It's a home match. It's Thomond Park. They're hopefully going to have decent support this time. I think there was 15,000 people in the stadium last time, or was it 17,000? It seemed a bit less, but those are the numbers I think headed about. They have to win this. They also need to prove that they can win it well. I still think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a good match. And, you know, I love to see Leicester lose. I think everybody does. Sorry, Leicester fans.
I definitely do. I'm not apologising.
Sorry, Leicester. Sorry, Leicester fans. I do have family in Leicester, but you know, no.
3 Munsters?
No.
You go with Leicester? Oh,
trust the Welshman to turn coat and run when it comes to Munster. Can't believe you hate Munster more than the English. Come on.
No, it's just I think just based on current form, really.
Leicester have been pretty good this season.
They're doing very well, yeah.
Yeah, I with Munster the way they have been the past couple of weeks, even though it's at home, I think that kind of Thomond Park magic has gone a little bit. So yeah.
Well, to put a bit of perspective on it, Leinster are fairly happy to kind of trudge along in the Pro 12 and win that. For Munster, that's not the case. It's essentially, you know, the Pro 12 is there. If we can win it, we'll win it. But for Munster, it's the European Cup is be all and end all. They're the only Irish club pretty much left in it with a semblance of dignity. They mightn't have won pretty, but you know, I want to see them do this. I want to see them win. I think they want to as well, because if they end up crashing out of Europe, it's more of a disaster for them than it would be for us. I mean, it's a disaster for us anyway, but I think they're going to win that.
Look at him get all defensive over Munster.
Yeah, I know, it's so weird. Oh God.
Yeah, but you're right. They didn't get out of the group last year, so I think it's pretty big for a club the stature of Munster to not qualify.
Definitely.
In the Challenge Cup, we've got Dragons versus Po, which is Colin Slade's team, I think.
Sorry, Fred.
Conrad Smith, yeah.
Sorry, Fred. I'm not going to back Po, just because.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Dragons as well. I think.
I mean, it's such an odd fixture. No offense, just Dragons versus Po, But just because Fred is supporting them this year, I'm going to go against Poe.
I think Poe will be fighting relegation, so I think they'll just rest everyone.
Including their
Dragons
coach.
for me.
Yeah, as much as it hurts me, I'm going to have to support Dragons on this one.
Next fixture, London Irish versus Edinburgh.
Edinburgh.
Just because London Irish, I didn't know they were doing that bad. But
they haven't won a game in the Premiership. I don't know if they've won in Europe yet.
Oh my God.
They've been awful. That's a whole other topic.
I'm sure we can spend an hour on that one as well.
Yeah,
but, okay.
Maybe next time we'll do a Premiership podcast. And then the Sunday games, are they in any?
No, there's no other ones. No, none.
None at all.
No, we're done. We're finished.
Toulon versus Leinster.
No.
CC, what do you think?
I'm going to back Toulon, I'm afraid. I'm not going to back them. I'm going to predict a victory for Toulon.
I was looking at odds earlier on, and the bookies backed Toulon by 15 points.
Wow.
So they seem to think that Toulon are going to win. I'm probably inclined to agree with them. But
my concern, I told you earlier, is scrum half. Luke McGrath's out. Sean O'Brien is out. I'm not too worried about that. I mean, he hasn't really been impressing me for the last while. Noel Reid out as well. So I could imagine Sexton at 10, hopefully Redden at 9, probably Madigan at 12, Teo 13. Everything's okay. I don't know. This is a very difficult one to call. I'm going to say Leinster, but pragmatically, look, it's
his heart ruled in my head.
My heart is winning here. No matter what. I mean, it could be the bookies could predict 100 points spread. I'll still say Leinster. I can't not say Leinster, but it is going to be ridiculously hard to win this one. I mean, we've pushed them to the breaking point before. We could have won that. We could have come away with it, except for that stupid intercept pass. Thank you, Madigan. He's going off to Munster soon. So, we can do it. But, fuck, I don't know.
Fair enough.
Let's just say Leinster and leave it at that. Let's move on. Let's stop
nice
talking about it.
Nice and decisive.
Yeah. There we go. I think that's everything. Thank you very much for listening, everyone.
What about Bath? What
Bath
about Wasps?
Wow.
Apparently that match doesn't exist as well.
Well, it's not. We're not talking about Premiership clubs, but we can do.
Oh, fair enough. No, that's fine.
We're going to win by a bonus point, and that's fine. It's going to be a tough one. I reckon 2 or 3 points in it, but I think we'll probably lose.
Is it home for you?
No, it's away, this one.
Well, listen, don't worry. Sam Burgess will score. Oh, wait.
I'm just going to go cry now. Right, thank you very much for listening. Subscribe to us on YouTube and Facebook, and please give us feedback. We're quite new to this, and just trying to get any opinions and any positive or negative feedback would be greatly appreciated.
Positive more so.
Any Scots and Italians out there, raise your hands and join the club.
Yeah, thank you very much for listening, guys. See you later.
Thanks, guys. See you.
Bye.